It's one of the most common and serious medical issues in America. What a new report is saying about how many people are struggling with depression. And we'll talk with the first out bisexual NFL player about his new book and his journey in the league. Welcome to Advocate Today. I'm Aaron Dean. Leaders of the nation's HBCUs are working with Washington to address two major issues in this country. One, healthcare workforce shortages and health disparities between black and white patients. Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders met with HBCU leaders during a roundtable at Morehouse University. Black people account for 13% of the U.S. population, but only 5.7% of physicians are black. A new study by the National Institute on Minority Health and Health Disparities estimates that the economic burden of the inquiries in the U.S. has cost the nation billions of dollars. That has led to higher maternal deaths and increased risk of diabetes, heart disease, and cancer. May is Mental Health Awareness Month. Many people live with depression, but a new report from Gallup finds that depression is more widespread than ever in the U.S. More than 1 in 6 adults say that they are depressed and are receiving treatment for depression. That's a 7% jump from 2015 when Gallup started polling the topic. Younger adults reported the highest rate of depression. Nearly a quarter say that they are currently depressed. Experts aren't surprised. Americans are struggling after the COVID-19 pandemic. They also say awareness around mental health has grown, leading to higher rates of diagnosis. For queer athletes, coming out of the closet while still playing professionally does not happen often. Former NFL defensive end R.K. Russell was the first player to come out as bisexual, and now he's leading the way for others. He's written a new memoir called The Yards Between Us. The Advocate Channel's Tracy Gilchrist spoke with Russell about his struggles growing up in Texas and the response to his coming out.
Football has been a huge part of your life, and would you talk a little bit about finding a certain kind of camaraderie or a sense of belonging once you were a kid who started, playing games and really in sports and saw like, oh yeah, this is where I belong in some ways.
Yeah, for me as a young person, specifically a young Black person in Texas, there were
Yeah.
times where I felt alienated. There were times where I felt alone. There were times where I just felt like people looked at me as less than or as a threat or as all of these things. And in football, I was looked at as a teammate first and foremost my by my fellow players who became my brothers. I was looked at for all of the potential that I had as a young person, all of the light that I had as a young person, by coaches and mentors who became like father figures to me. And then when you get to go out there under the lights and do what you do and, do what you've been working so hard to do this whole time, then the people around you, your teachers, adults, just other people see you as more. They see you as someone who's dedicated, hardworking, who is strong-willed, and who does the things that they say that they're going to do. So it really did transform my life, not just how I saw myself, but how the people around me saw me. And that was a great thing for someone like me and someone who at times felt like no one could see me. So at times felt very invisible in this world.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, thank you for that. And then, you do write about, not to bring your trauma out at this moment, but it is in the book. And you write about being bullied as a kid. And something that struck me that is a thread in The Yards Between Us is touching on various kinds of masculinity and what that looks like. And would you talk about how masculinity shows up and in the memoir?
Of course, I think there are healthy forms of masculinity that I try to present as well as I can through my stepfather, who was very caring, very protective, very much of his word, though I lost him very young, through my brother Hoops, who came and and came into my life in high school and showed me just that undying loyalty and care, and that two men can come together and be just family, and it can be tender, and it all can also be funny and comedic and tough and all of these things. And my best friend Joe, who I confided in for the first time about my sexuality, and who met me with nothing but love and appreciation and respect, and just let me know that this didn't change how he saw me. If anything, he thanked me and felt closer to me for it. So those were the health things, where we see men in masculinity in my book be very flexible and be very loving and very light. And then, there are the darker things, the things that we call toxic masculinity, growing up in football and being told that don't do things like a girl, don't run like a girl, don't throw like a girl, these very misogynistic things that also lead to then homophobic thoughts, lead to sexist thoughts. Also just the repression of emotions, the be tough, the boys don't cry, if you get hurt, get up and rub some dirt on my head, like keep going. And these things in a game situation, those type of things maybe can get you through it. We talked about that grit and that grind. But when that is kind of the slogan and the mantra for life, for boys, to not cry, to be tough, to never stop, to let things, to just keep going and all of those things, that's when they become the toxic ideals. That's when you take something that is for a very specific for a game and apply it to your whole life. And it really holds you back. And I try to go through these things and analyze these things. Manhood for a lot of us is defined as a young person. And I try to redefine that through this memoir and through my life.
Yeah. Yeah. Wonderful. And then, well, that does take me to you in 2019, had this incredible moment where you came out as bisexual. And, it's a couple of big things. Like, first, there aren't a lot of out players in the NFL. And then secondly, there are not a lot of people who talk about bisexuality, especially for men. So would you share a bit about that moment for you and what it meant to be able to finally say it?
Yeah. I mean, there are so few out players in the history of the NFL. Not even just, we have Carl Nassib now.
Yeah.
I came out, and then Michael Sam before me are kind of the most recent. But in the history of the NFL, there's not a lot of us, past, present, or future, that came out during or retired. So to be able to come out and to be able to hopefully be that light for young queer people who love sports, who want to stay in sports, who don't think that their identity should stop them from participating in sports, was huge. It was a moment where I was able to be a part of the representation that I needed as a young person. And I hope that people continue to do that we continue to break barriers. I don't want to be the first,
Yeah.
and I don't want to be the last. So it's like, how do we maintain having our young LGBTQ plus and queer people feel included and feel empowered and feel motivated to sport, to stick with sport, and to just see how far it can take them.
Yeah.
It was a huge moment for me.
Yeah. Wonderful. And would you talk a little bit about, I know that you have chatted about it before, but just the reception to your coming out, and how people in your life showed up, and how people maybe either surprised you or didn't.
My coming out was a dream. I don't see it really any other way. We can talk about, as I have talked about, the fact that I didn't return to the NFL after that, or what was the reaction of the league, or the league seemed slow to react, or how did players, perceive you or connect with you. Those things have their varying parts to it. But my coming out personally was a dream. Everyone that knew me personally and that I loved and supported me before loved and supported me thereafter. I was able to talk and connect with all types of people, young, people of color, queer people, straight people, heteronormative people, men, women, non-binary people, on a level that felt so true and so genuine, and so authentic.
Yeah.
And that is what I believe is the power, one, of sport, to unify people who are from different backgrounds, who
Yeah.
vary in so many identities and as a spectrum, and to come together with love and respect, and admiration even. So all of that was a dream to me, and the things that happened thereafter, career wise or from the outside looking in, are just variables. And I am the happiest that I've ever been.
And the demand for diversity and inclusion experts is growing, leaving colleges and universities to add DEI programs and degrees. Data hasn't been collected yet on how many colleges are adding programs, but LinkedIn data shows that between 2015 and 2020, diversity and inclusion roles have increased 71% globally. Other research from Indeed.com shows an increase of 123% between May and September of 2020. Another group, the Association of Diversity Officers in Higher Ed, has seen a 60% increase in membership since 2020. And that's all the time we have for This Advocate today. Visit us on theadvocatechannel.com or wherever you stream. I'm Aaron Dean, and we will see you next time.